Welcome to the Recovered Addict podcast. It's Jason Rigby, host. My other host today is
Duane, Yardman-Frank.
And this is our first episode. So this is going to be fun. So I want to start off like recovered, like the word recovered, because I know that's already going to tick people off because they're looking at it like you're never recovered. Like when you do training or when you do any type of, and I know you, and we'll get into your story here in a little bit, but I know you're 13 years sober, right, with alcoholism?
Correct.
So never really got too heavy into the drugs?
A lot of drugs were part of my story.
Like
I did a lot of drugs. I didn't do all the drugs, but I did do a lot. And however, the alcohol was always prevalent. So that's the main deal for me. However, yeah, definitely experimented with other substances.
So you did alcohol and drugs, but you've been 13 years, no alcohol.
No, nothing.
Right. And the crazy part is when I first met Duane years ago, you were serving alcohol to me.
Correct.
So I think that's really cool, is that you could get to the point, and that's what I would like look at, and we'll get into the spiritual aspect, but when you look at that physical aspect of not even being or wanting it, like it's not like you could serve it to somebody, at a restaurant or whatever, because you at that time you were working at a high-end restaurant, and you could serve drinks and never, ever have a desire to say, I wonder what this tastes like.
Yeah, it's an absolute miracle to be placed in a position of neutrality where this thing that used to dominate my world, I made every decision based around this particular substance, meant nothing to me.
So to get to that level, because there's a lot of people that are listening right now, and they're like, I'm just every minute.
Yeah, struggling.
Like I'm really struggling. Yeah. And imagine if you clicked on this, and you looked this up in a podcast or you're on Google and then our podcast showed up, then you're facing addiction issues. And this isn't, and I want people to understand, the show isn't just for alcohol or drugs, because that's what we tend to think addiction
Correct.
But I mean, how many addictions are there out there?
Countless. You can be addicted to, I don't know, scrolling on Instagram.
Yes.
Sex.
Yeah. Yes. That's a big
gambling, food.
Yes. Yeah, I was listening to a guy last night, Andrew Dice Clay, the old comedian from back in the day. And I don't know if you've heard of him or not, but he was he was really famous back in the early 90s. He had movies and all that stuff. And he was an addict he didn't really, he chain smoked, when that was part of his act. But the big thing was he was addicted to gambling. And he would do like blackjack and do all 5 or 6 sets or however you do it. I don't know. I'm not a gambler at all. I don't like doing that. And so he would do all the hands and then throw down like 50 grand a hand because he was making so much money. And he was up there with Eddie Murphy and all that stuff back in the day. And he's like, I just had intuition. I knew what the cards were. So there was like this whole giving yourself an excuse. And I want to get into this because we're going to get into the training that we've put together. And we're going to get into some modules and stuff like that you guys can go along, and we'll have PDF downloads for you and formats and stuff like that. And a whole course that's going to be coming out. But when you think of that, it's like, what is the self that thinks that you've got this? Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's like, well, I can count cards, or I'm special. I'm not going to lose. He ended up admitting that he lost shitloads of money, and it's like, you think you're special, but you're still hooked on drugs. You're still hooked on alcohol or sex or whatever it may be.
Absolutely. Terminally unique. I'm so unique, it's going to kill me.
I love that statement you say. What's the one? I'm not much.
I'm not much, but I'm all I think about.
That's so good.
Yeah, that's the insane part of addiction is always my ego.
Right.
Is always the part of me that doesn't like to look at reality, that doesn't like to take responsibility,
right.
The part of me that needs to be right. And really, I'll run you over to get what I want.
Yes.
If I'm in my ego.
So do you think that, like, if we want to take it, and I don't want people to tune us out, because we're going to give you a warning. We're going to talk a lot of spiritual aspects of things. And you may not, you'd be like, oh, I don't want that woo-woo shit, that type of thing. But when you really, really, really look at the recovered addict, like the recovered part, that when we do past tense, and this is something we were talking about earlier at the gym, is the reason that you can say that, and I want you to kind of articulate because you did such a great job. The reason that you can say that is because that Duane is gone.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Yes. Yeah. We were talking about that earlier. I have, and you have also recovered. I love the idea that this is going to be a little controversial. Recovered. They're not recovered. Right. They're still, if you're alive, you still have this inside of you. And, that may be one perspective, but another perspective is we've done the necessary work, the necessary spiritual development to have brought about a personality shift, a personality change.
Yes, I like
that.
My
personality, the person that I am, is different. And Duane, left to his own devices, is not capable of doing that by himself.
Right.
A thief is not going to teach me how to stop stealing.
Right. Yes, that's so true.
I'm just going to freaking steal.
Right.
And
and that could be an addiction. I know people have shoplifting addiction.
You get a little bonus.
Yeah. And you were doing that, right?
I remember being sober, early sobriety, and needing to steal because I didn't know how else to get this high.
Right.
How else to feel in trouble.
We don't want to get you in trouble, so we don't want to tell the stores, even though this was 13 years ago. This is a joke.
That's all right.
But it was like just little hair product, right?
Oh, hair gel. Yeah, hair gel. Hair gel is
like I needed to steal this hair gel.
Hair gel is the size of a can of dip. You know how easy that is to slide into your pocket? You just...
Yes. Yeah. It's like, what was it? $6?
Maybe.
And you probably had the $6
easily.
But it was the whole idea of,
it was just the addiction of getting the energetic response of fear, of trouble, of what if I get caught?
But this is really, really, really good, Duane, because people need to understand that they're addicted mentally.
Yes.
I mean, not just, we're going to talk the spiritual part, but they're addicted mentally to those. It's like you were saying, going to the drug dealer.
Yeah, I would get more high on the way to the drug dealer than I would get from the actual drugs.
Or a cop's behind you.
Yeah. I used to drive around in my rearview mirror. I never looked forward on the road. I just looked in the rearview mirror and hoped I didn't bump into things.
What do you think caused that? Like from a mental, emotional standpoint, what do you think caused that desire to almost like you want to get caught or something? Like serial killers have that, where it's like they'll mess up on purpose to hopefully get caught type of a thing. Some of them are that way. What do you think it's desire to like screw yourself over?
Yeah, I think there's this, that's a big question. That's a difficult question to answer. It could be different for many different people. Part of it is definitely unconscious.
Right.
I don't know how to confess what I'm doing is wrong. But I know deep down inside of me, maybe the part of me that's non-physical, the part of me that's connected to source, the part of me that is of God,
right, knows
that this probably isn't right.
So do you think it's narcissism? Like, because it's like you said, I'm not much, but I'm all I think about.
Yeah.
So do you think it's a point of that where it's like you're just not? Because the story here recently, my girlfriend and I were trying to help somebody, and it's just so much pride and all that. But it's like you could see them just being so narcissistic and just wanting to take all the time from people.
Yeah, of course.
Never give.
Yeah. It's in early sobriety, this idea of the question you just posed about why this desire of getting caught, why this narcissism. I'm not recovered enough when I'm fresh, trying to get well, to take responsibility for the harm I'm causing. I don't know. I don't know how to take responsibility.
So that's a key. This is not some spiritual woo thing. This is very practical. This is self-awareness practice.
Absolutely.
I don't know. That's so good. I don't know how.
I don't know how to take responsibility.
So I'm stuck.
I'm going to screw up and get in trouble, and you're going to force responsibility on me because I'm not evolved enough yet to ask for it. To own the responsibility.
It's almost like we're right there, and we're going to get controversial sometimes in the things that we say, and some of you, and I like to say we're not left, we're not right, we're not none of those things. We're just here trying to help people, and so some of the things that we say is going to kind of seem right, some things we say is going to seem left. So I don't want you to kind of pigeonhole us into this. I want to make sure we start that off right off the bat.
That's good to say,
there's no politics in any of this, but I do think and we've talked about this before. I do think society, when there's not, regulations or rules, are for you to be responsible.
Then
it's like it's almost weird. Like in my addiction, I can be responsible, but I'm really being irresponsible. If that makes sense. It's almost like I need some type of, it's gang members, for instance, and maybe people are listening and they've been in a gang or whatever. I need the structure of this screwed up family. Even though they're telling me to go, you need to go, like they were doing initiation in California where they were like slicing people's ankles. They were hiding under a car. And then that was like I need some type of messed up structure. And you've worked with tons of addicts. Like, I mean, that's your calling, and that's what you do every week. You work with tons of addicts. Why do you think people crave, like responsibility? Like, and I know when you were in the very beginning, and I think this is really interesting, is somebody that was helping you out in the very beginning, it was an older gentleman, right?
Correct.
And it's such a beautiful story, and we'll get into that later with you being able to be by his bedside when he passed away.
Yeah.
But like doing self-esteemable acts. Mm-hmm. Like what would he tell you?
So you come in broken and
right.
and I lived a life based on selfish self-centeredness. Mm-hmm. And I lived a life where I hurt a lot of people. And I was ashamed of a lot of the things I've done.
Right.
And, when you start seeking any recovery, I was walking around broken. And these men that I was around saw that. And
right.
that one of them grabbed me. It was this older gentleman, Bobby. And Bobby said,
like in an old school way.
Old school. Like I didn't have a choice. He just fucking grabbed me.
And this is in like rural New Mexico, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Small town New Mexico.
Yeah, so this is...
And he said, hey, you want some self-esteem? And I was a little crying a little bit. I was like, yeah. Could really use some of that. And he said, well, start doing esteemable acts.
I love that. That's so good.
Start behaving in a way that you can be proud of the man you are. Go over there and help. You see them? You see that group of people? Go throw the trash.
Maybe that's all you can do in the moment.
Be of service.
Yes. That's so good. Like taking the trash, maybe that's what you do. And I think...
That might be it, yeah.
Yeah, and some people, they're coming to addiction wanting people to help them.
Sure.
And I'm here, and I'm the center of my attention.
Yes, yeah.
And I'm just going to replace, you see this.
All the time. And it's conditioned to also. It's like I have 30 years of conditioning there. It's just, I'm the center of the universe. You guys better help me.
Right.
You're here for me. And so is everyone else in the room here for me.
Right.
And what a wild idea, paradoxical idea, that the only way I'm going to get better is if I start helping others. I start putting others' needs ahead of mine.
And that's part of that, the how, because I want to get back to that and make sure we're understanding that how. That's part of it. I mean, there's a long process that you got to go through.
Yes.
But that's one of the things is like you can start doing esteemable acts in service to others.
Absolutely, and that can happen right away. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that can happen right away.
So taking out the trash, perfect example. So let's say you're staying with someone and you're an addict and you're listening to this. Go take out their trash.
Yeah.
Clean the bathroom that you're
been
using.
Kicked out of your house.
Yes.
And now are staying on grandma's couch, uncle's couch, because nobody is going to about to have you except the people that feel sorry for you and love you. So you go to grandma's house, throw the trash.
Yeah.
Go cut the lawn. Simultaneously. Okay. So we opened the conversation with not knowing how to suit up and show up for responsibility. I'm actually showing up for some responsibility by throwing the trash.
Yes.
By throwing the trash. What is this responsibility giving me?
Yes.
What is this doing esteemable acts giving me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jordan Peterson talks about that with the sock drawer.
Yes, he really does. Yeah, clean your room. Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of his big deals that I really resonate with, Jordan Peterson, he'll say, people are looking for the meaning that will transcend the tragedy of their life. Living an addicted lifestyle, a selfish, self-centered lifestyle, is tragic.
Yes.
I run people, I hurt people. And people start to remember that and avoid me. Then some people are looking for as much individual responsibility as they can shoulder to help themselves, their family, and their community.
That's so good.
And as a little experience, wisdom, and understanding takes place in this search for spiritual development or consciousness development or recovery development, come to find out, those are the same thing. When I shoulder individual responsibility to improve myself, which in turn improves my family, which in turn improves my whole community, I find the meaning that transcends the tragedy of my selfish
so
existence. I am no longer existing in this selfish, self-centered way because I'm shouldering responsibility.
You just changed the matrix that you were living in. Like the whole programming changed.
That's the recovered piece.
Yes, and that's so good. And like we're being very extremely practical right now. And I want to get into the module number 1 because I think this is really important. We'll get into your story and my story. I was homeless, and we'll get into that at some point. But I just want to start this first episode off just helping people right off the bat, and giving them tools, and then they can follow through this process with us in these, and then like eventually, like I said, we'll have courses and stuff like that for people to take. But our module 1 is understanding addiction, and one of the things that we have is, and when we look at understanding, or the why, the how, all those things, the how, when, what, where, is the nature of addiction. And what we say in our course is that it's encompassing physical, emotional, and spiritual dimensions, and we'll get into those. But it's not a matter of moral failings or willpower, but rather addiction is a disease or dis-ease. We like to say that.
Yeah, I like that.
That affects the brain and its functioning. So the nature of addiction. When you hear that, how does that resonate with you as far as like being able to help somebody understand the nature of addiction?
You know what? I think we've touched on it a little bit, but it's excellent to jump into the module and get more specific in regards to pulling back the understanding of my selfishness, the nature of my addiction. What does it mean to be addicted to something? There are different components. There's definitely a mental component. There's definitely a physical component. There's definitely a spiritual lacking component.
Right.
And at the same time, all of that's happening at the same time. What blinds me is my selfishness in those areas.
Oh, okay. So you're saying like specifically like areas like the way that I treat my family,
the way that I
my
treat,
mom,
yes,
the way that I treat, and you had talked about that. So let's do this because this is really interesting. So like your mom kicked you out after you got sober, right?
Correct. I got sober. I was sober for 3 months. I wasn't doing anything to deal with my emotional well-being. I was just not using.
Were you just like purely white knuckling your
white
addiction?
Knuckling.
And there's some people out there right now that's in that spot.
This is a large majority of people struggling with addiction will try and do this. I'll figure it out. I have enough game. I have enough moxie. I can do this on my own. I'll do it. The way I am is enough. And we're programmed.
Isn't that a form of selfishness too?
Absolutely. I'm big enough. Of course, I'm big enough. I'll do it. And especially in our world, in the United States, in the new world, we're taught work harder.
Yes.
Apply more willpower. Why don't if you just had stronger will, you could do it. You could do it. Yeah, work harder. And that's how I mustered those 3 months. But I was horrible to be around. Judgmental, hurtful. No
just
control.
a mirror.
Yeah, absolutely no control when it came to my language or
disrespectful.
Completely
towards
disrespectful.
Like this is my mom, but
not completely ungrateful. Yeah.
Yes, the ungrateful part. Yes.
Yeah. 3 months sober, kicked me out of the house because I was too miserable to be around. She couldn't stand being around the type of person I am when I'm behaving in my selfish addictions, whether I'm using substances or not.
I wonder how many divorces are from that.
Probably all of them.
Yeah, I mean,
probably all of them. Because what's wrong with me is you. If only you were different, I would be okay. And that
no, we need to say that again.
Selfish self-centeredness.
If only, what did you say? Say that again.
What's wrong with me? This is my ego speaking. This is the second greatest lie of addiction.
Right.
First greatest lie is this time will be different. The second greatest lie is, well, what's wrong with me is you. If only you were different, I would be okay. And that's a delusion. What is it about me that wants you to be different?
That's so good.
My ego, my control. If only the government was different, I would be okay. If only my education was different, I would be okay. If only
my mom wasn't so...
If only my mom was different.
Yeah, then I wouldn't have to be mad at her.
Yeah. I'll be okay.
Or my grandma's letting me sleep on the couch if I...
Yes, and my ego is constantly demanding that the world around me changes so that I feel fine.
Or my boss. You know, because...
Traffic.
there's a lot of addicts that are functioning.
Sure.
And we're speaking to those too. And this is all addiction. Like you may think you have your sexual addiction under control, but it's going to pop its ugly head up. And we're going to get into that about cutting the head of the snake off.
Yeah.
Because you have some really good stuff on that, Duane, that helped me out a lot in a lot of my personalities. Because I have an addicts. The only thing that's caused me not to go hog wild in any of my addictions is purely ego fear. I'm a very fearful person. So the reason I won't do drugs, and I've been offered tons of drugs when I was homeless, the reason I wouldn't, because I was so afraid of something taking me over. Not that I would become an addict, because I didn't care about myself. I tried to kill myself a bunch of times, all that stuff. You know, and if you're it's like, I'm such a loser, I can't even kill myself properly. And if you really wanted to kill yourself, you could do it.
I failed at that.
It's just me being, I always say like suicide is the ultimate selfishness.
Absolutely.
Because you're not caring about anybody else, no family, nobody. And then this is your legacy. This is how you're going to leave the earth. Is you, and you're just going to get another meat suit, and we'll get into that. And it's just a lesson that you learned next. You know, but in the meantime, whenever you look at the nature of addiction, and what you said is dealing with selfishness.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And when you look at selfishness in and of its nature, so let's get into that, because we're dissecting kind of like, we're going to go deep into addiction. I mean, we're going to do hundreds and hundreds of episodes of these. And so until one of us fall off the wagon, right, we'll be on here. Look, I'm drinking. No, you won't.
The podcast didn't work.
And I know both of us, because we've known each other very, very well, both of us got to the point to where, I mean, I use tobacco. I have it sitting right here or whatever. That's an addiction. But I've gotten to the point, like, I don't even want to drink alcohol anymore. I may have a beer here or there, and I've never had an addiction with alcohol, but it lowers my vibration.
For sure.
And it's poison.
Absolutely.
So it always sounds like a good idea. And then if I do it, like if I drink more than 3 beers, you know, I can have 2 or 3 Dos Equis, but I drink more and I get a buzz. Then with literally in like an hour or two, I'm feeling low vibrational. And I don't feel like I'm not being my abundant best. This isn't me at my best.
Yeah, that's a good way to say that.
You know, so whether you have a little bit, because I believe everybody's an addict. You know, I mean, down deep inside. So we're really speaking to everyone.
Everyone.
You know, everybody has, you know, like you'd said, and I have this, if one is good, 1,000's better.
Yes. Yeah. And to keep it real, like even playing, everyone's on an even playing field here. Addiction to fear. Yeah. Addiction to worry.
That's me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, addiction to
me
fear.
too.
Yeah.
You don't have to have ever touched a substance in your life to not be addicted to fear.
Well, then it turns into like addiction to fear turns into people pleasing, and I can go all into that and never feeling upper limits. And we're gonna do shows on upper limits, ULPs. I never feel good enough, you know. So, and this is a situation that we had when we were helping someone last week with this. Is their whole thing was, I can't be social unless I have alcohol or drugs in my system. Like I'm not good enough because I'm an introvert. I'm not good enough to talk to people. And that wasn't your situation, because I want people to understand all addictions manifest themselves differently. This isn't like I don't like programs where everything's like cut and dry. Yeah. Because this is individually, like you were just like, I'm going to drink a whole bottle. And I don't really care. I do care, but if I really cared, I wouldn't have wound up naked, you know, like pissing on somebody or something. I doubt you did that.
I did that a lot.
But I remember you telling me like the greatest gift that you found was like you found a hidden bottle.
Oh yeah,
like you had forgot that you misplaced it.
And I was in a blackout and I didn't remember stashing this bottle where I did stash it, and then 11 a.m. the next morning,
you find it.
I found it. It was like finding gold. I was like, tequila at 11. There's nothing better for breakfast.
You manifested that.
Came right to me.
But it's so funny because it's like you were like the blackout drunk, hurt yourself. And like I said, we'll do more into your story, and maybe you can do a whole podcast on that. But it's people's addiction and how they handle it, or how they think they're handling it with their ego. It manifests and plays out itself so uniquely and different.
Absolutely. And it's sneaky.
Yes.
It's very sneaky. Well, I didn't think I was addicted to that. But all I think about is my bank account. And I just check it. How many times do I check my app on my phone? Is the money still there?
Yes, it's that scarcity mindset.
Yes. It's like I haven't been to a bar in 18 years or whatever.
Right.
But
I'm addicted to
checking because I'm addicted to fear of money.
Yes, I used to be an alcoholic, and now I'm obese, and I'm addicted to food.
Yeah.
That's just a legal drug.
Or I'm addicted to going to the gym.
Yes,
I gotta work out twice a day now just to keep my crazy mind quiet.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm burning my muscle tissue and my joints are breaking apart. However, I go to the gym twice every day.
Every day, yeah, and I'm better than everyone else.
Yeah, exactly.
I look better. I'm better than everyone else. So I kind of want to get into the physical dimension on this lesson, and we won't get through all of this. We'll go to the next one. But in the lesson, it says physical addiction alters the brain structure and functioning, primarily impacting the reward system. Substances or behaviors that are addictive stimulate this reward system, and we've talked about this for dopamine and all these. And evolutionary psychology tells us this. It's been ingrained in us. We want to search, and then when we find the berries or we find the deer that we can hunt and kill, that's that dopamine hit. So you can be at the casino, because some of you are addicted to that, and you could be pushing the button, then all of a sudden all the cherries light up, and your thing goes, and then and then you're addicted to that feeling, and so you're searching for that. That's just a physical evolutionary psychology thing. Yes. It really doesn't have power over you when you begin to understand it.
Very good. Yeah. That's powerful. We like to say, you and I talk about this a lot. When my internal state is independent of my outside circumstances, I'm mastering my environment.
Oh, yeah, that's so good.
When I'm mastering my environment, I have emotional intelligence. And those are the people I like to hang out with. You want to hang out with emotionally intelligent people. But when I'm behaving in addiction, I'm ruled by my environment. Whatever's going on around me dictates my emotions.
So I go to a party and I see some alcohol. I instantly run to that because I'm feeling a lack.
Yes.
And then I want to feel electric, and I want to feel like I fit in. So I'm going to give in to the circumstances that are around me.
I think for a lot of people that are lost in their addiction, and it was certainly my case, once I ingested the substance and I had a physical experience with the substance, for the most part, I instantly fit in. I was instantly a part of.
Till you begin to start screwing it up because you're drinking too much.
And in the beginning, that feels wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I was like Mr. Popular, and people wanted to be around me. We had a great time. We laughed. I can't wait to do that again. Let's do that again next week.
And partying
and the progression of chasing that feeling of fitting in and belonging and connected to. It's easy to get blinded by the ego and my selfishness, because then I'm just chasing this feeling of belonging. But my life can't be one big party.
Yes.
I tried to make it that. I tried to say, let's drink. And that's when I start to feel connected. And then the physical structure of my brain gets rewired so that I'm chasing this feeling that I think only exists when I'm pouring a substance.
So you literally have to change your whole life to find this fitting in. So it's like, I need to find alcohol in a situation so that I fit in.
Yeah. And fit in, feel a part of, or connected to.
Right.
All of those, we're kind of saying the same thing. We're getting into some oneness.
So I'm gonna work at a bar. I'm gonna work at a strip club.
Oh yeah.
So that access. Environment. I'm gonna change everything. I'm gonna become this crazy night owl. Do all these things. I'm gonna make money so I can function. But I've literally given myself up to this addiction to the point of I'm going to change my whole life.
I've designed my world around this thing.
Yes, there you go. Design your world. That's awesome.
Yeah. Or I've created a world around this.
Because we're manifesting whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How is it that you got the job at the bar?
Right.
We're powerful creators. We can absolutely create the world where we think about, we desire.
So, like most, I don't want to say the word most. Let me not say that's wrong. But you've been in the restaurant arena for a while. You used to do that. A lot of bartenders are taking drinks.
A lot.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like on the side or whatever.
I worked in the service industry for over 20 years. And a particular type of person is attracted to that environment.
Right. There's weed, drugs, and alcohol.
Every single kitchen, I don't care where you are, has drinks going on and drugs going on.
So an addict is drawn to that environment because that environment allows them in their minds to be able to function. Because at least I'm making money, at least I can pay my rent. I mean, they probably have a shitty car, probably not living in a nice place or whatever, but I've given up myself to the addiction so much that I've created an environment. Because I want people to understand this, because this is really powerful what you said. Because this gives you, if you can create that environment, you can create an environment. You can create another environment.
Yes.
Because you've created that environment. You just did that because, like you said, it was fun. It's fun to be at 1 o'clock in the morning and people are dancing and drinking. And I want to do that too. That's fun. You know what I mean? I want to drink and get super buzzed. In the short term, that's fun. But if I'm doing it night after night after night after night, and I'm serving drinks and I'm taking a drink and serving drinks, and then when you get off, I've seen this, bartenders get off their shift and then they go sit at a table, and what do? They drink.
They drink.
Yeah. So, over and over and over and over again, you're making these micro choices to service your ego is making these micro choices to service the addiction. So you're living to the addiction. You don't even know who you are. Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely.
Yeah, you're not. And you, like I said, you've been in this over.
Yeah. And you just said really resonated with me in regards to you don't know who you are. Those micro decisions are made usually I'm pretty unconscious to those decisions.
Yeah. I just work at a restaurant.
I'm not exactly. It looks pretty.
And I can function. I pay my rent.
I'm holding down a job.
Yes. It looks pretty.
Yeah. It looks pretty. On the outside.
Maybe I'm still young and I look good.
I showered.
Yeah, I look good. I smell good.
I showed up on
guys are hitting on me all the time, or girls are hitting on me all the time. I mean, I look great, even though my liver's about it's like, help me.
It's about to rupture.
Yeah, it's about to go in any moment. But I look good.
And I had a miniature in the car before I walked in.
Yes, yeah.
And then I'm going to do 3 or 4 shots during the shift. Yeah. And then get off and do more substances that are going to help me drink even more.
Yeah, I dated a bartender for a while, and she was that way. She would take the little minis that reminded me and put them in her coffee for the start of her shift. So she would go to Starbucks, and get a coffee, and then put these little minis in her coffee to start her shift.
It looks pretty.
Yeah, in the early afternoon, she'd go to work at 4 in the afternoon or whatever, 3, and then next thing you know, she's drinking all the way till 2 in the morning.
Yeah. Addicts are usually super high functioning people, and it's very interesting because they can fit many personas. That makes you super popular. You fit in with whoever. You can fit in with the jocks. You could fit in high school. You could fit in with the jocks. You could fit in with the punks. You could fit in with the skaters. The Glee Club. You fit in with everybody. And I was able to turn on and off these personas to fit into whatever scenario I was in. But that's because I was trying to get whatever I wanted to get.
All
My selfish self-centeredness knew who to be in particular situations.
Chameleon.
Even at work. Because I'm just there for me.
And you could get to the level of, and like I say, we're not right or left or whatever. I always say I'm not right wing or left wing. I'm throwing the whole bird out. But somebody that had that was Bill Clinton. He had sexual addiction and all that stuff. And you could see that clearly. I mean, there's proof on all that. Absolutely. But he became the president of the United States. And then people, it would be like there was people and people that may not remember this time frame, but there was like the Republican Party, the head guy of the Republican Party, Newt Gingrich. He would like shake his head. He'd be like, I would go in an office with him, talk to him for 30 minutes, and I'm agreeing with him in 30 minutes. Like he was such a chameleon.
Very convincing.
Yeah. So this addict worked his way all the way up to the president of the United States. And you could be an addict like a psychopath or whatever. And I'm not saying he was. But I mean, obviously he had a sexual addiction problem, but you can get to that level of the highest function.
It still looks pretty.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And you're just, like you said, you're manipulating people to get what you want. And then the whole center, the universe is built around you to accomplish whether you want women or guys or whatever it is. Like you could get to that level. And I'm that way too. Like I can see that self with me, what was like, how can I accomplish this? Like, and then it becomes a game.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you're selfish and self-centered, why wouldn't you manifest a position where you almost are the center of the universe. Everyone knew who Bill Clinton was.
Yes.
Everyone was doing what he said to do.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
How do you get to that position?
100%. Yeah. You're governor in Arkansas. How do you get there? And then next thing you know, you're the president of the United States. Like,
very interesting.
But that's just the highest of the levels. Sure. But what you were saying about you, and I want to get into this because there's a lot of people that are like bartenders or whatever, addicts that are probably listening to this right now. When you get to that where you're having to manifest the environment to support the addiction. So like with you, when you started, you were sober, you were partly sober. Were you sober when you got into the food industry, or?
You know what? In the beginning, I was not.
Okay.
I started from the bottom. I was a dishwasher at a catering company, and I drinking and high the entire time. It was owned by a couple lesbians, and they were tough on me, and they would yell at me, so go wash the dishes.
Right.
And
we love lesbians, by the way.
We love lesbians. We love lesbians.
We're not saying, but they were
great.
They were tough.
They were tough. They were tough on me.
Right.
And I used to steal champagne after the parties were over that we threw. And I was high all day and drinking champagne. I was 14 years old. I started very young.
Even 14 years old?
14 years old.
Started drinking.
When I kicked off my addiction career. Absolutely.
The addiction career. I love that.
I had a full career of it.
For decades.
Yeah. And
for our decade.
Already then at 14, I had this lack in spirit.
How many 14-year-olds were working at a catering company? So you were being highly productive.
Yeah, a highly big chameleon also. Yeah. I knew what I needed to do in order to get what I needed to get. And what I wanted to get was checked out. I wanted to not feel. I wanted to not deal with whatever this lack was going on inside of me. I didn't have the articulation then. I didn't know I was spiritually lacking. I didn't know I was living selfishly. I just knew that I wanted to not feel whatever it was I was feeling.
And you're like, this feels great. This feels amazing. Just so unconscious. Like what, unconscious. I can look at it now and know when the monkey mind, it's just the monkey mind, the ego mind. It's like, I love this. This tastes amazing. I want, I don't just want one or two donuts. I want the whole, that's my problem. I want the whole dozen.
Yeah, we're going to eat 12.
Yeah, I'm going to eat. I can slam 6 Krispy Kremes in no time. Where people may eat one or two, the normal person.
Yeah.
And I'm like, thinking about it, there's still 6 left in that box.
Yeah.
Hour later, it's like, I'll go grab another one.
Yeah.
Hour later, I'll grab another one.
Yeah.
The next, I've ate a whole dozen donuts in a couple hours.
Yep. So I started working in the service industry while I was partaking in active alcoholism and drug addiction. One of the beautiful parts of my story is I sobered up and then I still worked in that industry.
Yeah. See, that would be tough.
It was tough.
To me, that would be tough having it around me.
It was tough, but if I was doing the appropriate spiritual work to know that I am not my environment.
Yes.
I'm not a bottle. That has nothing to do with my identity. That has nothing to do with what's going on inside of me. What we already talked about earlier, if my internal state is independent of my outside circumstances, that's one of the most beautiful miracles that recovery has to offer us. I can now go anywhere in the world a free man because I'm separate from those things that used to dominate me now.
They're not you. It's not the real you.
Has nothing to do with me.
Yeah, it's just a bottle with liquid in it.
Yeah, bottles. Some of the recovery programs like to say, the substance is but a symptom of my real disease.
I like that.
My real disease is, I know that's going to work immediately. I'm so self-centered and self-centered. I need it to work immediately. Let's just do that.
Yeah, and it's that instant gratification. It's the instant like, let me swing to the McDonald's drive-through.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna order. I'm gonna order a strawberry shake, a Big Mac, 20 pieces of nuggets. I'm gonna order if I'm going hog wild, and I'm gonna do it now because how many for me and that I've done that multiple times. But how many times it's just like these split seconds?
Oh, dude, I couldn't possibly cook a chicken breast,
right,
and make a salad with a little dressing. No, I'm just gonna pull up to the middle. I don't even have to stand up.
Yes,
to get a double cheeseburger.
Yes, exactly. You could do it in any. I mean, a lot of people have food addictions, and you look at that, and it's like it's so tough because it's literally everywhere.
Yeah,
And I know you being able to work in an environment and control that could help a lot of people with food addiction because they're going to be in that environment.
Yeah.
You're going to see a drive-through everywhere you go. There's plenty of Jack in the Boxes, which I love. There's, I mean, like, and I have to make that choice not to go there. And occasionally I'll treat myself to something, and you do the same thing. Occasionally you treat yourself like once a week. You may have a cheat meal or something like that. Exactly. But for the most part, you're being disciplined in your life.
The discipline walks hand in hand with responsibility. So
when you begin to take responsibility for yourself, then the how becomes the discipline, not the white knuckling part. And this is where we're gonna do a whole lessons on surrender, because I think that's really good. But I want to end it in this because I think this is so good on the physical side. You said over time the brain becomes accustomed to these high levels of dopamine and develops a tolerance. Isn't it funny? We can develop a tolerance for drugs, we can develop a tolerance for alcohol, but the brain does the same thing. It develops and becomes accustomed to these high levels of dopamine. So you begin this requiring more of the substance or the behavior to achieve the same effect. This is so good. This is like physics and everything else. I need more. Like, I'm a sex addict. I don't want to just watch this type of porn. I'm going to watch this kind. I don't want just one girl. I want two girls. Oh no, now I got two girls. Now I need to do an orgy. Now I want guys too and girls, So this addiction just is this abdominal snowman that's like, I want more, I need more. Yeah. So, it's like, and it's like, if it's one, it's 1,000. How do you look at that, from a physical level when you think of like dopamine and tolerance levels? Because obviously you went through that whole process of, I need more.
Absolutely. I have a funny in my circle, and we've talked about this before also. We joke, but it's half true. We'll say, well, I just suffer from the disease of more.
Yes.
What does that mean? It's like, it doesn't really matter what you're holding. I just want more.
That's so good.
They'll say, here is this pill. And if you take this pill, you won't want to drink anymore. Or you won't want to gamble anymore. Or you won't want to overeat anymore.
I love that.
If I'm already down in my addiction, if I've already experienced enough of the neurological wiring, the dopamine necessity, and they offer me those two pills, I'm the only type of person that says, well, what happens if you take two?
Yes.
I'm just addicted to more. I'm addicted to more.
That makes it so much simpler though. And it's almost funny.
It is comical. Absolutely.
It's like, instead of taking this one pill, I want two pills.
Yeah.
Instead of eating 2 donuts, I want 6 donuts. It's the same. Exactly. It's just, that's so good. And I know some people, I hope you're getting this right now. Addiction to more.
Addiction to more. What is that addiction
How
to more?
simple is that?
How easy is it to be unconscious to my desire for more? If I was eating a donut consciously, do you think I'd need 6 of them to know I ate a donut to feel satisfied?
There's so much going on there, like scarcity and comfort and like dopamine receptor. I mean, there's just, it's like, I need all of these. It was funny because you were talking about this, you were with somebody yesterday and you guys were eating something and, it's like, no, I need mine. Like, you're like, no, I need mine. Like, and then you have 2 people that are like, there's not enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We had a massive amount of food, a massive amount of dessert, and each of us are like, I'm going to get as much of this in as I can.
To get mine,
because I don't want the other person to eat the whole thing.
Right. Yes.
One person could not have eaten what was available to us.
So the more.
Yeah. But my ego says, well, I better get it down fast.
That's so good, bro.
Yeah. What part of me is that?
Yes.
My selfish and self-centeredness. I could have fed a family of 8 with the amount of food we had. And I'm the one other person in the room, I'm concerned of getting more than me.
Because I need the more.
That's disease.
Yes, and I'm the same way. It's like
disease of the ego.
It's like at work, it's that way. Operating at you're operating at a high level, and then you're like, well, obviously this person's threatening me, so I need to do this to them. It's like a chess game,
Yeah.
And because I want more power,
yeah.
I need more of this or whatever, and screw them because they don't know what I've gone through. I've been homeless and I've been this, and I tell my story, my ego story over and over again. And then I get to this level where my brain just switched into this reptilian mindset, of like everybody's, and my enemy. You know what I mean? So I do need more and I do want more. And there's nothing wrong, because there's a big difference. Let's end in this, because I think this will be really good. And we'll get to the emotional dimension next podcast. So this desire for more, like there's a positive, like emotional abundance, physical abundance, spiritual abundance. And so what's the difference between like the ego more and the spiritual abundance? You know what I mean?
Oh, I love that question. Yeah. If I'm blinded by my ego, there's not enough for both of us.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
There's definitely not enough for everybody.
Right.
I'm just going to make sure there's enough for me.
Just the selfishness again.
Selfishness, self-centered.
Yeah.
If I'm coming from inner being, infinite source, no matter what it is, it never runs out.
That's so good.
It never runs out. My connection to inner being, my connection to infinite abundance. If it's infinite, then you better treat it like it's infinite.
Right. That's so good.
It's my ego that wants to make it finite. And we know from experience, and that's why we're having this podcast, living in the infinite is a much better way to go through the world.
100%. And we'll close in that.